Right. So, Rohan, let's now explore internships, courses, certifications that students can take up while in college, right? Now that they've kind of gotten an understanding of this cycle that they need to put themselves through. And I remember, I think you started with internships very early on, if I'm not wrong, right? I remember in second year itself, you were working with Shades of Spring, if I'm not wrong.
Yep.
And I think they had, again, thousands plus users and all of that. So, you've built a lot of applications in your day for internship, something of real practical value. So how do people now approach this when they're in college, right? So let's look at all of these things. What do they do with respect to courses? What do they do with respect to certifications? What do they do with respect to internships, projects? So I think we'll like club them a little bit. So let's start off with courses and certifications that college students can take up.
Right. So yeah, so I guess before that, I would again make a hierarchy list here because I think there's a
Mhm.
very clear hierarchy list. Hierarchy list in this case would be projects first, your personal projects or projects that are important to you,
Mhm.
and then internships, and then courses, and then certifications. This is
Mhm.
how I would sort of construct the list. I think on this list, let's start with the bottom first, which I think are not as important. Certifications are, in my opinion, not very valuable, right?
Mhm.
And courses as well, because again, courses again, it depends a lot. So if it's a course that is like a cohort based course, where it's like a group of 50 people, and then you have a Discord group and they're all chatting and they're working towards something, they're building something together, completely
Mhm.
worth it. It's like college but better, right? And
Mhm.
it's more focused towards a certain goal. That's what college should be, honestly, but it's really not sort of living up to that, at least in India. So yeah, I group one-way courses, where there's like one-way communication, and
Pre-recorded lectures and
pre-recorded,
all
yeah,
of this.
and certificates in one bucket, which I think is not very useful.
Mm.
I think these two-way courses are useful. I think uh, internships are useful, and projects are of course the best, right? So
Mm.
one thing I would say, and this is extremely important, which I felt in my second and third year, very honestly, I felt pressure to do internships.
Mm.
This is a very pure pressure thing. I don't know why, but it's extremely prevalent in tech as well. I felt pressure to do internships because all my friends were doing it. Well, not really, not everybody, right? But there was this culture, and especially in the US, not as much in India. And I have a few friends in the US, and for them, internship culture is huge. Like if you get
Mm.
a good internship somewhere, at a recognized company, like it kind of makes all the difference in your placements as well, right?
Yeah.
At least in America. So I felt like a certain amount of pressure, and I defaulted to prioritizing them over trying to work on my own things. But if I were to go back 2 3 4 years, I would probably just take a friend or two, whoever I want to work with, and
Mhm.
just take that entire summer to work on something I'm passionate about.
Mm.
Right? If I have something. Now the difference is, yeah, if you don't have something that you don't want, that you want to work on, you don't have anything in mind, then by all means apply for the internship, right? i
Mm.
think i think they're a very valuable source of experience. Like here's something I hear a lot as well, right? Like people say go and do a master's immediately after undergrad. That's something I don't
Mm.
agree with as well, because like you want some amount of work experience, right?
True.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
like what are you really doing at your master's program, right? So it's the same thing here. Like anything you want to do in the field, you need some amount of experience. um, and so I'm just categorizing the experience where your projects and then internships.
Mm.
So in terms of applying for internships, it's difficult. It's kind of, I would say, cutthroat. Again, you have to go through placements, you have to apply off campus, you have to know people. But also I think it's, you can look at it two ways. You can either look at it and say, hey, it's cutthroat, all doom and gloom, I'm never going to get one. Or you can say, hey, you know what, this sounds like fun, I get to talk to a lot of people, I get to network, I can go to conferences, I can work at a startup.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, and at that point you don't need to prioritize things like money or any of that, right? You need to prioritize just learning.
Mm.
So whether you're working for free or just like as little as possible, it really, some people really come up to me and say, hey, nobody should sort of work for free or work for like really minimum wage. I mean, these things are really subjective. I don't want to say something that'll get me
Yeah.
cancelled, right? Because I don't want to get cancelled. But these things are really subjective. If what if it's a company that you really care about and they're doing
Mm.
work that interests you and you want to be in this space eventually, right? Wouldn't you take that pay cut to sort of go and work with them? So it
Yeah.
really depends on what you want to do. It's a very personalized n is equal to one, sort of like what do you want to do in that summer of yours. And if you really don't have a project of your own, go for an internship. So
So you would say, I guess, I mean, quickly coming back to like courses and certifications, right? I think one of the reasons why they're so prevalent also is that people don't see I mean, entry barrier is very low, first of all. You can easily just enroll and start watching a bunch of videos and taking up a certification program. But with the way you described it, would you recommend that for someone who absolutely wants to do this, should they still take it up, or is it a case where like if you have very little time, just start working on your own project, and whenever you have a summer or a winter break in your college, just do an internship? Like, is that just the way to go?
yeah, so we'll do a quick straw man, right? Because I said courses and certifications are bad. I'll take the other side and talk about why they could potentially be good, just so that we have a balanced sort of argument. The place where I've seen certifications be extremely useful are very niche skills, right? Like, for example, if you're an AWS practitioner or Azure, cloud, whatever, you have years of experience, and you want to show people that, hey, I've worked in this space and I know everything about AWS, and I can work with their services, and I can offer these services to you as a, let's say, a consultant. That's when the certification becomes really useful, because then I can identify this person and say, hey, like, I know this person knows AWS inside and out, right? Because they don't give out these certifications easily. It's grueling, right, to get
Yeah.
these like difficult certifications. Courses, again, if you really know what you're doing, and you like, I've done some of these one-way courses where I had to learn, let's say, JavaScript. I mean, I had a very clear purpose there. Like, I wanted to learn JavaScript to build a website, and like, at that point, I couldn't build a website without knowing JavaScript. So I was like, okay, let me just like quickly glance through this course and let's see what they have to offer. But I didn't spend too much time on it. There's this phrase called tutorial hell. People get stuck in this phase where they just keep going through tutorials over and over again. Don't get stuck there. That's the key.